Yeah, with Ding Liren, not only do I not say it disrespectfully or like making fun of him, but it's the ultimate show of respect to say that here's a guy who's been second ranked in the world for years. I guess he's third now, which kind of goes to the point. But he was second ranked in the world for years, right? Much of his career, but he was never really treated like he's going to finish second in every tournament or he's really competing for the world championship. I guess he'll be able to now because because Magnus dropped out of it. I think Jan will play Ding maybe for the world championship, but you already know he's going to choke that away and lose that too because he just can't play up to his rating. So that's why chess is such an objective elitist game, and that's always something that spoke to me despite never really playing the game a ton, is like you can't say, like, let's use Magnus as an example. Magnus, when he loses to like a 2500 player, which has happened, you can't say, oh, it's he made a tactical mistake or he doesn't know how to deal with this, or the 2500 just plays so well, so give him a pat on the back. A 2800, especially at this level, that level, 300 rating is astronomically significant, and so the point is that you should never lose. A 2800 should never lose to a 2500, period. Doesn't matter white or black, doesn't matter anything. So the only way it happens is that somebody is overconfident or playing down to their competition or something like that. It's this psychological thing, not a chess thing, not an ability thing. And if you get a draw, that's different. Obviously, that's just the nature of chess, period, at a high level. The majority of games end in draws anyway, so then you can pat the 2500 on the back. Good for you, you drew Magnus Carlsen, but you shouldn't be able to do anything beyond that. And so it's really about them at that point. But at least with him, okay, he can choke a game like that, but at least he's won world championships, so he's validated his legacy that way. With Ding, it's like, you're second ranked in the world for years, but you never finish there in tournaments, especially high stakes tournaments. And then you lose to people who are, it's one of two things. We should be comparing him to Magnus and say, oh, is he going to catch him? Is he going to beat him for the championship? Do something like that. That should be, you know, if Magnus is the best player ever, then where does Ding rank? Is he close to him? Is he top 5, top 10 all time? But rather than that, we're questioning, like, will he ever win a tournament, or will he ever do anything? Is he going to lose to Anish? Is he going to lose to Jan, other people like that, who, again, it's not any offense to them, but he's the second rated player, or he has been historically. So he's the favorite. They're the underdog, even if by a marginal amount. So it doesn't make sense that, so it's like Ding doesn't need chess advice, obviously, but he does need psychological advice because there's something missing. And I guess we've exhibited that same exact tendency, but in a much more less consequential way. So it's easy just to say that. There's a lot of pressure, but he doesn't seem like the overconfident type. So my psychological analysis would be that, combining my two major interests, would be that he's kind of gets nervous, and it's sort of a problem that feeds into itself. Like, oh, you know, you choked in the past, and so now you feel like, oh, I hope I don't choke again, and then you start to question yourself and doubt yourself. So it becomes an endless loop. So it's all psychological at that point, and it's amazing how much of a difference that sort of thing can make, because you can't say that, oh, somebody who's 2800 plus is going to suddenly just not be able to beat a 2500 or anything like that. It's such an objective measurement. It's one of the few games where you can really say that. It's almost like people would take it as an insult, but it's actually a compliment that you're saying, oh yeah, there was something he said that's like the old Dwight Howard thing, like where Dwight Howard says, whether I win or lose, I wake up tomorrow, it's still a beautiful day, I still love my life. But that shows you the subconscious thing of why he was such a disappointment at times as a player. Like, you don't have the real passion for it. So Ding said not too long ago something that's just forgotten in passing, but he said, like, okay, I'm happy just being the best Chinese player ever, and obviously he is, but he should be thinking instead, okay, and I know it's easy just to say it, but like, I want to be the world champion, I want to be the best player ever, period. That's the mentality difference. You wouldn't say, oh, I'm happy being the best in this one category that you obviously know you already are.
Okay, so last year before Ding Liren won the world championship, I made a prediction that he would choke because he had a history of choking, in my opinion, and a lot of people were not too happy with it, but then I proved to be correct. But I made one incorrect prediction and one correct prediction. The incorrect prediction was that I thought as a result of choking, he would lose the world championship, but then Nepo outchokes him. Might sound like an excuse, but like, I can admit I was wrong about the outcome, but I did predict he would choke in some major way, which game 7 was a clear indication of that. So this time I'll predict that he's going to lose no matter who he faces out of the candidates, because again, he won as a fluke. And let's go over the ways that it was a fluke. Karjakin was replaced by Ding because of strictly political reasons, right? Otherwise Ding wouldn't have even been in the candidates. It would have been Sergei Karjakin. Then So that's a fluke right there. Then he beats Hikaru, who's a part-time streamer. Again, might sound like a cop-out, but again, at least that's a factor. Like, he's not playing Hikaru at his best, even if that's by his own fault and own volition. And then Nepo's leading the entire championship. He's up one game, then he loses. Then he's up. He's always leading first, right? He's never down and then having to come back and win the next game to even the score, right? And under that circumstance, almost nobody has ever won where they're trailing every single game. But yet he was able to do it because Nepo actually outchoked him, which is unbelievable. So there's a lot of flukes that you would think, okay, Magnus doesn't play, carjacking gets banned for political reasons, all these different things align perfectly for Ding to win. So the likelihood of him winning this next one is 0%. I'll even say that. No matter who he plays, he's not going to beat them because that's how fluky it was. Again, carjacking gets banned for political reasons. Hikaru is a part-time streamer, right? Distracted that way, even if that's his own fault and choice. And then Magnus isn't playing for his own reasons. So again, none of this is Ding's fault necessarily, aside from number 4, which is where he choked. And then Nepo outchokes him, which even that isn't his fault. But it's the flukiest thing ever. Not to take away from how great a player he is, but it's that psychological weakness that he has that clearly at the high level, that's part of what makes Magnus so great that goes underappreciated, is the fact that he is so mentally strong, and those things don't, whatever the result is, it's not enough to stop him from winning championships. Because arguably Ding isn't as far off as you might think, right? Ding could be, he's the second best player of all time if you look at his rating throughout most of his career, but something always holds him back, right? He's been over 2,800 for a large part of his career. He was world number 2 for a long time, but he would always underperform in tournaments. He would always choke big games. He would always play below his rating. He would always be in a position where he's not peaking. Like, he'd be over 2,800 and he'd be world number 2, but he wouldn't get as far as other players have gotten, like 2,850, like Kasparov, or 2,844 and stuff. He should be one of those guys who got to not as high as Magnus, but as close as you can get.